You know what they do, right? They do.
What should I call this? Like this career series, career talk, career insight. Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of our career insights. So today is the software engineering series. Today is the software engineering episode, and I have with me Anuj and Alex, who I've met. I met them last year, where we used to work together, and I'll have with them share with me a little bit more about how they became a software engineer, what entails being a software engineer, and what plans they have for the future. Cool. Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name's Alex. I've been a software developer for about 4 years now, and I think the unique thing about my situation is that I did not finish university. So yeah, it's another viewpoint.
Hi, I'm Anuj, and I've been a software engineer for around 6 years now, and completely contrary to Alex, I got a master's degree. So somehow we ended up on the same team and we are co-workers. So maybe you can get insight about how you can approach software engineering from both sides. If you have a degree or if you're overqualified, have a master's degree, all the same, you can still be a software engineer.
Cool. So I guess first question for Alex. Where did you grow up? Where did you drop out of school? And how long have you been a software engineer?
So I was born and raised in Canada, East Coast, Toronto, and I started my university degree in mathematics at Waterloo, which is quite a good university for the field that I'm going into, but I just didn't have that much motivation to finish my degree. So I ended up dropping out. I worked for a startup, and the startup was literally working out of a house, and so yeah, there are a lot of stereotypes about that, but that's how my career started.
Cool. And what about Anuj? So you got your master's degree. Where did you do your bachelor's, and how did you end up in Singapore?
Yeah, so I was born in India, in Mumbai, and I went to university in Mumbai and worked at a startup for a couple of years, and then went over to the US to pursue my master's education to see how Western education is completely different from maybe Indian education. And I worked in the US for some time before moving to Singapore.
And so that means total working years.
Yeah, six.
Yeah.
I think 6.
4 for me.
Okay. So just to clarify, you guys are web developers?
I mean, we don't have to work on web. I think we could pick up making mobile apps easily.
Yeah.
Mobile apps or really any kind of app or a backend.
Yeah.
I think we could all work on all of that stuff.
Within software engineering, there are a lot of smaller roles in specific areas you can focus on.
Yeah.
So for instance, you could be a web developer, you can be a front-end person, a back-end person, you can do hardware, or you can just work on mobile apps. They're all, yeah.
You could be an SRE.
Okay, well, what's your advice though? Like, do you think that it's better for a career to stick with one area of expertise, like SRE or mobile or web, or is it better to dabble in everything?
I think for me it does not matter because the skills mostly are very transferable. So for example, very loosely, the languages being used are very similar. The concepts are similar. Maybe a few concepts you'll have to pick up, or maybe some style related issues when you're coding, but more or less your skills should be transferable. The concepts are almost the same.
Yeah, I would mostly agree with that. I think as a software engineer, it's good to know what's out there. So they kind of say like a T-chart, right? So you have specialization in whatever field you have.
Okay.
And knowledge of others, but yeah, the skills are transferable.
What do you guys think are the skill sets required? So it could be technical skills, it could be degree qualifications, or it could be soft skills. What makes a good software engineer?
I think some of the most important qualities for a software engineer is creative thinking and kind of a strong drive to find the solution to the problem you're having. And so you end up running into a lot of roadblocks while doing whatever work you're doing, and usually they're only solvable through either you or the people around you. So having that drive really helps.
Yeah, there's motivation. So all the good software engineers I know, they even outside work, they are trying to find out new things, something that motivates them, something interesting, trying to pull like programming into things where you wouldn't apply programming into just for fun. Yeah, I have a coworker who does something chess related, and it's clear that he's never going to apply the things that he's programming on chess in his like work life, but I think he does it just for fun.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, the motivation. So yes, such motivation, I think there will be some time in the future where there will be a chance where he can apply something he learned from that other project into work, which other people wouldn't, because he got a head start of like 1 year or 2 years thinking on this project so deeply. So I think he will come up with a solution much faster than maybe other people when they look at a problem of a similar kind.
You mentioned that good software engineers kind of find projects to do in their free time. What are some of the interesting projects that you guys have worked on?
I think something that I started working on recently was creating a budgeting app, because I felt like there weren't any solutions out there that could like read the text from a receipt and do that easily. So that's something I was working on.
So what's your budget app called? Is it available for other people to use?
It's not available at the moment. We'll see.
I do a lot of origami in my free time, so I was working on some. It turns out origami, it gets very technical if you go to the computer science fundamentals. So that's a whole new world that I discovered, and it's like the thickest algorithms textbook has a chapter dedicated specifically to this in the very end. But it's such a thick textbook, no one ever bothers reading the entire thing. But yeah, I would not have read that chapter if it weren't for origami.
Wow, origami! Who knew? And okay, so bringing it back to your career, what's a day-to-day like for you guys?
You want to go first?
Sure. So I think on a day-to-day, I feel like your time is divided into two very separate types of work. So at my last company, they like to call it creative work. So work where you don't really need the input of others, and you're creating something on your own. So for software engineers, it's like coding something, or for designers, it's like creating different mock-ups, that kind of thing. And then the other type of work is communication and syncing up with other people. So whether it be with your managers or with other people on the team, like product managers, that kind of thing. And so I would say your creative work is actually 30 to 40%, whereas the rest of the time is communicating with other people.
I would agree. I think there is a stereotype that programmers, all they do is coding. Like in the movie, if they show a programmer, he's always on the computer typing something. But yeah, I would agree with Alex there. It's like 30 to 40%, or otherwise you're talking to the PM or you're talking to the designer trying to understand the product better. That is, you could be typing, in theory, you could be doing coding 100% of the time, but you'll just have to write a lot of code and then delete it because you did not communicate it properly. So it's much better to just communicate in advance, very clearly, get all the specifications, and that's where the 40-60 split comes from.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people think that coding is just writing code, whereas I like to think of coding as adding on to something that already exists. And so when you're coding, you end up reading, I'd say like 50% of the time compared to just writing. Because a lot of times you need to understand the context of what you're doing and the different systems around it.
What is the biggest challenge about your job? It can be anything. Like the challenge is to get into a good company, the challenge is to get promoted, or is the challenge the day-to-day work itself? Their job is easy. There's no challenges.
So untrue.
No, for me, the biggest challenge would be communicating. It seems like it's supposed to be something so easy to do, but considering that it takes like at least half of your entire time.
Right.
Mm.
That tells you how difficult it is, especially if you are working on a project which you are developing for some other country and you're not going to be using it. So that's what I find very difficult.
I think this is more generalization of different software engineers, and it's we as people aren't balanced in the creative work and the communication work. So I feel like a lot of people focus maybe too much on communication and not enough on the technical skill, whereas some other people might be flipped. And so trying to strike a good balance between the two is always very, very hard.
Yeah.
Okay, and how do you overcome it?
I think to overcome it, it really takes the feedback of the people around you, whether it be people on your team, your manager, or people that you're working with. I think it's very important to get feedback from them.
And we're down to the last two questions. So the second last question is, what do you think is the biggest myth about your job?
I have an answer. Do you have an answer?
I don't have an answer yet, but you can go ahead.
In the movies, when they show like a person hacking into a system, it's a black and white screen, which admittedly we do work on a lot of black and white screens, but I don't think any of us can hack into the NSA, and I don't think any of the software engineers that you know of can hack into the NSA. So also most of the times when other people ask, like my dad asks me for a solution for a problem he's having, most likely I'm going to Google that issue, and the first result is what I'm going to tell him how to solve it. So yeah, it's not like we know all of these issues by heart or everything, we've got everything memorized. We are actually much more stupid than you think we are.
No, but that's very humble.
I would more or less agree with you. Like on that fact, I would literally say that as a software engineer, like you need to be good at Googling things. Because like there's so much knowledge out on the web, like whether it be something specific that you're working on or there are internal documentation that you can read. A lot of what you do is trying to understand the problem before you even try to solve it. So in some situations, most of your project would actually be trying to understand the problem you're solving.
Right, I see. And kind of like building on top of what maybe somebody else has already done. Okay, cool. And the last question, so what are your career aspirations? What's the trajectory for a software engineer? Do they want to start their own business, or what's the typical route? What's the atypical route?
Very weirdly, a friend asked me the same thing yesterday, and I said I could do the same stuff that I'm doing in the same position for as long as possible, because on the side I'm obviously learning new things on my own, and software engineering in general, if you look at the average payment, the salaries, software engineer, like I'm very privileged in a way that I'm earning a lot more than a lot of other people make.
So, I mean, we all know that the engineering roles, they do pay better.
I mean, you will see some really scary figures from Facebook or Google, but even if you do not land in those big companies, you're going to be better than most of the population in the world easily, who's salaried. So.
But what is your aspiration though? Like, do you want to do this forever, or do you want to be a people manager? Do you want to?
As of now, I do not see the joy in managing people. So there are two tracks where you can specialize in technology or you can be a team lead. And if given a chance, then I think I would specialize in a technology.
So I know him personally, and I think he will make a really good people manager. He used to help me a lot in projects and stuff. I
By
don't know why.
Googling a lot.
He has this like very systematic steps in teaching me. Oh well. What about you, Alex?
I think so. The logical progression of a software engineer is to become a software engineering manager, right? And I feel like the people that are ready to move to that step are people that find their output could be even higher if they could manage people instead of creating work on their own.
Right.
So personally, 4 years into my profession, I haven't really come across that point yet, so I can't comment, and I don't think my work output would be able to like multiply other people. So I'm not sure.
Okay, cool. So you're still waiting to see what might happen and still trying to explore the future options. I think that's all that we have for today. Do you have any last words to potential fresh graduates, people looking for a career switch, someone new to the industry?
Stay in school. It's easier that way. I swear.
Are you going back to school?
Probably not.
All right.
That's all I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, that's it. I have nothing else to say.
That is all that we have for today. If you like this series, then we might be inviting more guests and having more people from different industries and different careers talk and share more about their career path and journey. So until then, see you. Bye.
Bye.
Not bad, right? See,
Not
that was
bad,
really
not
easy.
bad.
So if you like this video, we will be having more guests on this on this show or this episode or this series.
The series is better.
Series, yeah. Show's like a bit.
It's
yeah,
like a
too
TV
much,
show.
Yeah.
It's not. We don't have the production budget.
That's true. We are.
That's our budget.